What is going on, everyone? Thank you for joining this afternoon, exactly this afternoon. Um, Thank you for joining for the conversation that we're going to have, and we've been having with a lot of the candidates for the city of San Antonio election that is coming up here on May 1st. Early voting at the bottom, you can see there. Early voting starts April 19th, ends April 27th, and then election day is actually on May 1st. So try to get in that early voting because there's not that much of a line there for that time. And so let's get educated on some of these positions, and especially the school board or the board of trustees position. So, and that brings us to our next guest. So, hey, Irma, how are you?
Good. How are you? Happy Tuesday.
Yes, right. And so go ahead and tell us about yourself, and let's start from there.
Sure. So my name is Irma Durande Rodriguez. As you can tell, it's a very long name. And I'm running for the Northside ISD School Board of Trustees, seat 5. If some of you live in my area and think, well, I don't ever remember voting on this, we have had a tenured trustee who has run for 30 years, and she has decided to retire. So she has been unopposed for 30 years, and that is why it's never gone to elections. And on May 1st, I will be number 4 on the ballot, and you'll be able to see my name because it is the longest one, I think, on the entire ballot. So I'm very active in a variety of organizations, both professional and personal. I grew up in Northside. I graduated from Northside, and now I have my daughters in Northside as well. So they're the next generation of Northside students that will leave their mark in society. And I always say I'm the biological mother of 2, but I'm also the neighborhood mom. So I also saw another generation of children growing here in our neighborhood.
Yeah, definitely. So tell us, for all the people that don't know, why is it important to really look at the candidates for the board of trustees, and why we should really be paying attention to this race?
The most important reason to be paying attention to the race is because it directly impacts you. If you have children in the district, it's going to affect your children, and it's going to affect your development. If you don't have children, it's going to affect your taxes, the safety of the neighborhoods. The role of the Board of Trustees, as any good board, is to be the governing body over the schools and the administration. So the board implements the policies for the best interest of all parties, not just the students, not just the teachers, not just the parents, but all parties inside the district. And it's also where the buck stops. Responsibility starts somewhere, but it ends at the Board of Trustees. And the Board of Trustees' role is not only a full-time task of reviewing policies and budgets and visiting schools, it's also establishing the district's values and being there for the development of the child. So whoever the trustee is, they're saying exactly for your children and your grandchildren. And behind the scenes, there are so many committees that they participate in. When you look at a board of trustee meeting, it looks so easy, like, okay, yes, vote, sure, 2 hours done. But honestly, there is a lot of work done behind it. You have finance committees, you have bond. Bond is coming up in the next elections, I think in the 2022 elections. And Northside about every 4 to 6 years has bond elections for the renovating of schools. I have an inkling that there might be some new schools brought up in the next one because we are growing into the Medina area, into Medina County. And I have a feeling that we might be adding schools to those areas. And even though you're thinking, well, it's Medina County, but it's still, if you live in Northside, it's still going to affect you regarding the bond. Mm-hmm. And they also go and visit schools. They listen to teachers. They listen to parents. So it is very important to, pick the right person for the board that's going to listen to not just the stakeholders, but listen to the people that, are being affected directly by this. Everyone from pre-K all the way up to the seniors that say, well, I don't even have kids in the area. But you have a school in the area, and, that right. School has programs that, could help you too. People just think of, school programs, but there is a wide range of things that go on in the school board that people don't even realize all the hard work that the trustees put behind the scenes.
Yeah, definitely. And so with some of those things, why how can people be more engaged with the school board or the board of trustees, and try to give you maybe some more input, or maybe receive
Mhm.
some more input on how some of the things are being run in the district?
So that is one of the priorities I'm running on. People always say, well, I don't even know what's going on in the school, or I don't even have communication with the school. And it's not for lack of trying, it's for lack of understanding. So one of the priorities that I am trying to push is more community engagement and better understanding of the system. And I know your kids are little, but once they're going to start getting into that school age level, you might get that email every once in a while from the school, or you might have that meeting at 3 o'clock. And honestly, how many of us check our emails constantly? And how many of us can actually go to school at 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
Right.
Um, I've been very lucky because, I have parents and my in-laws that say, okay, if you can't go, I'll do it. And now I'm working remotely, so I'm more flexible. But we have to be adapting to the family now. We don't have the family where mom stays at home, dad's working. We also have non-traditional caretakers. We have grandparents, we have foster parents, we have adopted parents, and we need to take them more into consideration. What does their flexibility look like? How can we get them engaged? And for example, in District 5, we have a huge percentage of caretakers being grandparents. So they've been out of the system for a long time, and now they're like getting back into it. And the system has changed substantially.
Right.
So some of the things I have been focusing on is to change the way we communicate with all caretakers and families, but also have some community engagement, not just in English and Spanish, but also other languages, for parents and caretakers to understand how they can be involved with the board, why the board is important, why the district gets involved with their children, and how they can speak up too. I think oftentimes they think, well, I asked the teacher and the teacher said no, or the principal said no. But there is this, overall, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's not that the teacher or the principal doesn't want you to do things, it's that they might not have the answer either. So why, instead of reinventing the wheel and having all these silos in these schools, why don't we at the district level say, this is how you can communicate with us, these are your privileges, these are your rights, and this is how we can get you to get more engaged. And if the caretaker feels that the board is listening to them, they're going to become more engaged in the student's role. And then what happens when we have active adults and student engagement? You
Right.
have the student success. So it kind of just rolls back into it. One of the things I'm doing right now, I'm currently a PTA leader, also Girl Scout parent, Sunday school parent. So I've been reaching out into my networks and organizations to have meet and greets and listening sessions. And these listening sessions don't even have agendas. It's tell me what priorities you see. I have my priorities, but you as a parent, you as a caretaker, you even as a student have other priorities. So what do you want to see? And I'm actually working on a report. So when elected, I want to focus on these issues that I've seen, come up often across several schools. But in the off chance that I'm not elected, I do want to work with the Improvement Council, which I'm already a part of, to address these issues and say to the board, these are some things that have been coming up often. How can we address them now before it snowballs into something bigger? And when I am elected, I do want to have quarterly chats where people can just come to me and talk about anything. I think you've noticed we emailed, we Facebook messaged.
Yeah.
I'm always on my phone. My husband's always asking, like, who are you texting all the time? But honestly, it's because I try to stay as open and engaged as possible because I do want to hear from people. I'm a public servant, and the whole thing is to serve those people and be open to them. And unfortunately, I think that hasn't been seen very often. It's been, people don't know when board meetings are. And it's not because of the board of trustees. I think it's because there has been that disconnect in understanding how people can get involved. So I will try to keep those chats open, and I think I'm going to share my screen later so people can always email me, text me, message me, and I do want to keep that going from now until even after the election, where I hear from everyone. I had sessions in English and Spanish. I've had sessions with children as small as middle school. I want to do one after middle school, like elementary school, but I think that one might be shorter and maybe in person.
The attention spans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do preschool and first grade Zoom meetings with Sunday school, and the attention span on Zoom is not the same as in person. So, I do want to hear from those that get affected the most.
Yeah, definitely. So, what are some of the things that you feel that can be better for the school district itself that a board of trustee would have a direct hand in playing?
Yeah, so again, I graduated from Northside. I am a proud graduate of Northside. I know how great the programs are. But when I was growing up, I actually moved across several schools, and I saw that the same programs didn't have the same quality, and sometimes didn't even have the same agenda. And that's because the schools are working in silos. And again, it's through no fault of the teachers. I think that there really has been an overarching policy or committee to say, hey, let's stop reinventing the wheel. Let's all work together. Let's all use the same resources. And it's a lot easier now. We have Zoom. We have technology. I know poor teachers are already working so many hours and they're probably Zoomed out. But getting together every quarter, yeah, literally. Getting together every quarter, just, talking and sharing resources. And that really hasn't been done. So as a board of on the trustees, I really want on creating a standard procedure. My policy, I work with the city. So we have been really key on standard operating procedures so we can stop reinventing the wheel. And being a long time city employee, we sat for a long time where we all worked in silos. And the most valuable that we had was our resources and network where we can talk together. That's one of the things I want to do to ensure that this is our standard across the board, that Clark gets the same quality programs that John Jay does and vice versa, that if you have a child in Lead at Rawlinson, they have the same quality, at Hobby or at Pat Neff. And we really haven't seen that. And that's because there is no standard operating procedure. And we really need to stop reinventing the wheel and be more effective.
Definitely. All right. So, I have a question from the UK. Interesting. Wow.
UK? Wow.
So, it said, "Hi, Irma. You look great today. Hope you're well. My question is to you: what are your thoughts on the recent findings on Hawkins radiation, and how do you think schools will have Hawking radiation? And how do you think schools will have to adapt and perhaps adopt different style in relation to said findings?" Not sure exactly if something that you would be in direct relation to, or I'm not familiar with the
Hawking radiation. I know I've heard about it. My background was in science, unfortunately. I know it's like thermal radiation. We watch a lot of Nova in the house, so I remember hearing about it, but I really don't know how that would affect schools. If you have any ideas or theories, I'd love to see it. And maybe we can talk more about it, but I don't really know how that would affect our schools.
Yeah, definitely. I'm clueless on that. So,
I remember it has like thermal radiation, and it has, I think it's a theory about black holes. But yeah, science, I love science, but it was not my forte. My forte was history and math. For the person that asked that question, if you have any theories I think definitely at the high school level, I'd love for them to learn more about it so they don't get, blanked out like I do.
Right.
But if you have any comments or ideas, I'd love for us to get together and talk about what you have.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you from that. I didn't realize this was getting all the way to the UK. So
Very cool.
uh, that's good. But all right, so we have a question over here on Instagram. What are your
Okay.
thoughts on school district consolidation with Edgewood ISD?
Oh, okay. So school district consolidation with Edgewood ISD. I know there have been talks about some of the school districts consolidating. San Antonio is 17 districts large, and that does create some issues in regards to quality across San Antonio, and also creates segregation and disparity, obviously. Um, I'm not one to talk exactly about consolidating with Edgewood. I think that's more of a conversation for the Edgewood Board of Trustees. If it does ever come to Northside to say, would we consolidate with Edgewood, I'd have to really look at the pros and cons and see how it would best benefit, both districts and not just Northside or not just Edgewood. It's not that large a district, so I don't think it would be that much of an issue, but we do have to see also the burden that we'd be taking in. Northside has always had an excellent credit rating, has always had, excellent test scores and qualifications. But the most important thing is that budget and that credit rating. What are we taking with Edgewood? So I'd have to see their budget first, and then have a really long, lengthy discussion. But, if it ever needs to be done, I would be open to hearing about it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Now, I know we had spoke to another candidate, and there was the talk about where is the school money going to? Like, are we being really are we scrutinizing exactly where all the money is going to and how it's being spent? Do you see any
Mhm.
issue like that's going on with NISD that maybe we probably should do a better job at doing? Or yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
So NISD does have an extremely large budget, and that makes sense because we are the third largest district in all the state and the largest one in San Antonio. Um, the majority of the budget actually goes to administration. And by administration, I mean salaries, teacher salaries, staff salaries, counselors, custodians. So the majority of it is going obviously to good use. I think teachers don't get enough respect, and they don't get paid enough, but they do get paid well at the Northside level. Um, the finance and the budget is very scrutinized. That's why we have an excellent credit rating. If I believe you were talking with the last candidate, he was talking about 21 million not being found, or
Well, I
kind
think
of.
it was the $9 million going to a cafeteria floor or something like that.
Yes. So a lot of that money is scrutinized under the committees, and it goes through several. It goes through several processes. One of the things I would like to see is to have more of a grading system for local vendors. We don't have that, and that's not because Northside doesn't want to. It's just not mandatory for districts anywhere in the state. And for example, when you're doing the airport or you're doing any other government contracts, you have minority businesses, small businesses, local businesses, and those get extra points. So I think having a more thorough RFP and looking more into the actual finances of where the money goes, that is something that we really do need to improve on. Because a lot of money goes to the same people over and over, or it goes to out of state, and that's even at the state level. For example, the STAR test contractors are from Washington D.C. and London, not even local at all. So I do want to see more scrutiny in regards to keeping those contracts local and having the money stay local. But in regards to the actual budget, they're doing a decent job. The money is going to salaries. The money is going to administration. Right now, we're waiting on about $21 million that had to be pivoted and allocated for PPP when, everything happened. So everything from equipment to laptops to hotspots. But we're still waiting on the state and the federal government to reimburse the district.
No, geez.
So that came from their pocket. That was 21 million. I think they're still waiting on about 12 million. So most of it has come back. But there's a reason that we've had that that A credit rating for as long as I can remember. I mean, I've been a student. I graduated 19 years ago, and we've always had that excellent credit rating because they really scrutinize that budget.
Gotcha. So what? Oh, and just a reminder: anybody that wants to ask a question on Instagram and Facebook, please do so. Put a comment. We're reading these comments as much as we can, and then also if you would like to actually jump into the live stream through Facebook, I have put the link down below in the comment section on Facebook, so you can actually jump in and actually ask a question. So there's no, mishearing or misunderstanding or misinterpretation of the question. So
please no quantum physics questions.
Yeah. So with everything going on, do you see the schools reopening at a safe capacity, or do you think we're still too early for that, or is that even a school board of trustees position?
That is. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm part of the Northside Education Improvement Council. And that was one of the things that we were even looking at and assessing months ago for 2021 and for 2022. And we were looking at what the TEA proposed, which is 100% virtual, 100% in person, asynchronous learning. So you have like these two hybrids, which is a teacher either teaches one period in person, one period virtual, or you have a teacher that just does 100% virtual and another teacher that does 100% class. But the kid can't, if he's already in one class, he can't transfer, back and forth. He has to stay with that same teacher and stay with the same program. So that is something we've been reviewing all the way up to 2022, because there might be a chance that we might not be 100% ready. People ask, well, when are the children going to get vaccinated? And kids between the ages of 12 to 16 are barely being tested right now. So that means they probably won't get their shot till maybe summer, and the elementary school children probably won't till the end of the year, maybe even next year. As you can see right now, they just opened up to teachers, and people in our age range really haven't even been called to get their vaccines yet. The numbers thankfully are going down, so we might get lucky. I think we were at 5.6% this morning, so we might get lucky. Mental health advices is what we should be doing. And the best thing that we can do is be prepared with those options and have the teachers prepared, because last year we really jumped into it without preparation. That's why you had so many stressed out teachers, so many stressed out children. And I'm pretty sure a lot of stressed out parents too. And a lot of children really lost, honestly, a year and a half of learning. They really didn't gain anything from this year. So next year, one thing that we really do need to focus on is to gain that year back. And the children, for example, if they're entering fourth grade, might have to get a crash course in everything that they probably didn't catch on in third grade just because they were doing virtual or even the hybrid classes. My personal opinion is I'd love to see the asynchronous learning. But again, that's up to the entire board, and that's up to the committees that advise the board. But definitely, I think we do need to focus on teaching those children all over again, because this past year, they really haven't gained anything. I don't know if your children are doing any classes. I think they're a little too small, right?
Yeah, they're too small.
They're too
It's just me doing whatever I can.
Right. And I mean, my daughters are doing great. They have all A's, but I talk to them, and one has 100 in math, and she hasn't even figured out her multiplication tables yet. So being fourth grade and not knowing your multiplication tables, that's really going to delay your education as you keep on going if you don't stop it and reset it right now.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but hopefully in April or in August, we're all doing well, and the virus is gone, hopefully. But I do think that we do need to focus on preparing the classrooms for the next pandemic. You don't know what could happen, unfortunately. And I do think we need to keep those, the safe distances and the wide open spaces and better ventilation. I think we've saw that a lot of the schools didn't have the proper ventilation systems, and some didn't even have the proper AC. So a lot of the older schools really did suffer. So as we're looking into renovations of these new campuses, having that proper ventilation, having those wider hallways, having more sanitary procedures, just stay in place so we can prevent any future, issues from happening. Even if it's the common cold or the flu, kids do catch a lot of things at school, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was driving by the elementary school around here because it was along the way, and like I see the kids running around outside, but they have the mask down here, and it's like, well, there goes that's just like, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to contain and hard to, especially for little kids. I know with my kids, we have their mask on, but sometimes it just doesn't stay on, or I mean, it's so hard to get this control, especially with kids. And so with the STAR testing, I mean, we hear a lot of complaints with the STAR testing, and that from the general public, I feel that a lot of people feel like we are testing our kids. We are teaching our kids to take a test. Can you maybe debunk that, or do you feel like that's happening? And if it is, what can we do to change things, or who do we need to talk to change some of these things to where we're teaching our kids differently, kind of like how the private schools are?
That goes up to the state level. And unfortunately, in the past couple of years, we've had to rely on how well our schools do in the testing for us to get funding. So state funding has sloped down in regards to how much we get. And that's why property taxes have been going up in regards to that percentage for the school funding. And the schools, or rather the state, depends on how well you do on that test is how much money you're going to receive. And that puts the stress on the children, because the teachers are now having to focus on testing. If a teacher doesn't do well on testing, I've heard from a few teachers that they have to get moved or reassigned to other grades where you don't have testing. And we're basically teaching children just to memorize instead of think. And that's not a good thing. Okay, well, I'm memorizing how to, read this passage by Edgar Allan Poe. Great. I'm reading, but do I remember anything from my STAR, or rather I was tossed? I don't remember anything from my toss test.
Right. I don't remember what I had last night for dinner.
Right? So it puts this extra burden on the children. I feel, and one thing is that they're going to be removing the writing from the STAR test. And children have been graded the worst statewide, not just in Northside, not just in San Antonio, in the entire state of Texas. Their writing and their speaking skills are below par. And I don't know about you, but I feel like that is very important for any, career or success. You need to know how to.
Yeah, maybe not chemistry or science. Yeah. Well, I mean,
all the core is important, but I feel like writing, you definitely need to know at least how to write properly. and that reflects on you, and they're taking that off the STAR test, which means that the teachers are going to be focusing on the other items that are going to be on the STAR test, which is great. Math is great, reading's great, science great, but what about writing? What about critical thinking? And you lose that when you're doing the STAR test. And one big thing I have about this year is that again, I mentioned it earlier, the kids are behind and they're already stressed out. They've had, you don't know what's going on with some of the families, but you might have had children with deaths or sicknesses in the family. So you already have everything going on. And then you're making the children go to the campus because they can't do it virtually. You're making the children go to the campus and take a test that they're really not even going to be evaluated on. So, I wish there was a better way to test the children in regards to not just the way they take tests, but also critical thinking. I've seen my daughter, she hates her birthday because her birthday's always on the STAR test. So she dreads her. Yeah, she always says, like, I'm the unluckiest kid on earth because my birthday's on the STAR. And I hate my birthday. And, and this has been since third grade. She's in sixth grade now. And she's had this mentality about, like, I hate my birthday because she associates it with a test, No. So, yeah, we need to be better. And, this has to go all the way to the State Board of Education, the TEA, and also, all the way up to the governor's office. How can we assess our children better? Yes, I understand that schools need assessment. And yes, I understand that performances go off of the funding. But how do we better test these children so we don't put this extra stress on them and we don't teach them to just be memorizing robots? We teach them to think for themselves.
Well, is there a different way that we can assess how the schools get funding so that way it's not solely provided on the testing and it's sorry.
That's
sorry.
no problem. That, do you want me to answer or you want to answer that?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I think we as a community need to really have experts in the field, experts in child development, experts in education, work at the state level, perhaps having a committee where they say, this is how we can better assess not just the students, but the teachers in the school and programming. Because we're just focusing on how well the kids do, but how well are the teachers doing? How well are the programs doing? How well is the school doing?
So are there no committees right now that are doing that?
For the STAR, not really, no.
Wow.
And the State Board of Education focuses on that. The TEA focuses on that. But they are appointed and elected. So why not have a larger group of either focus groups or stakeholders where you have other people that aren't just elected officials or appointed officials in that?
Yeah, definitely. Wow, that's mind-blowing because you would think that there would be somebody trying to champion for something like that, or hopefully if there are, they're not in it for some other reasons. So I mean, that really needs to be.
I have seen a push at the state level. So always talk to your state representatives. I've seen state representatives pushing more for changes to the testing. I have seen several teachers groups pushing for it too. I believe some of the people at the State Board of Education has also been pushing as well, at least for this year, in regards to canceling for this year, because I honestly think this year is a wash. Why even do it this year? Let's just start from scratch in the new year. And, if we are to have a STAR, let's just do it next year. So there has been a push from our elected officials, but not as wide as it should be, especially when you hear the majority of the public complaining about this. And we have a small minority of elected officials saying, yep, I hear you and I completely understand and I'm looking into it.
So okay, so if we do have a wash with this, right, and we end up to where they're not going to be graded on the STAR test, can we like implement something right now so that the teachers can create their own lesson plans so that way they're not focused on the test, and try a pilot program that way, so that way we can say, look, this is what we've been doing since we don't have to focus too much on the star test. Can we implement it this way? Is there anybody doing that in the district that you know of, or is this maybe something that could be implemented?
So we do have a curriculum aside from the STAR test, and the curriculum is established by the state. And has the proposed core, and then we also have the committee. The committee I mentioned earlier. We also evaluate some sessions and curricula that get added at the district level. Some of these are more for the magnet schools and the higher levels, such as middle school and high school, where we're talking about technical skills. We're talking about technical writing. So thankfully we try to keep the technical writing on there. So there are committees at the district level that are doing that, but thankfully, the state does have a curriculum apart from the STAR test. So you have the core curriculum, and then you have the STAR test, like those practice tests every once in a while. One thing that I don't think people realize is that the curriculum that we have is very expansive, and the districts can pick and choose from there. Some topics I've seen at the state level curriculum are, for example, Mexican American studies, African American studies, technical skills, and people can take those and use them into the district, and they're pretty much already ready to go.
Interesting. And so, I mean, are they being utilized, as much as they can be, or is that information, like you were saying, that not a lot of people know about it? Are there not a lot of the schools or the teachers using these avenues of resources?
So again, the curriculum is established by the state. So the curriculum that you're seeing at your schools are district-wide. So for example, Clark, Taft, they're all using the exact same curriculum because it's been approved by the board after they got picked from the state. And then the other ones that are available that have been modified and added to the curriculum get done at the magnet school level, and some of the other schools too. I know. I think the last committee meeting I saw, we were talking about Warren getting some of the programs. So it is available, and the district does do a decent job of letting being informed about the curriculum so they could share that information. But there's only so many classes in a day that a child can
do. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, right now, it would be a perfect time to try to do even more so if you're not. I mean, but do they still have to do STAR testing tests, even though they're not going to have the STAR test?
So the way the STAR testing works right now, it's still going to happen. So if you are a virtual student, you would have to go on campus. It's not going to be evaluated. So whatever score the school or the child gets is not going to be counted for this year. We're still using information from 2019. And I mean, that's what we're using for everything from the scoring to the demographics of the children, and even the attendance. I mean, we do have some attendance numbers, obviously, because that is different from the STAR. But if the child takes it or not, the numbers aren't going to count. And I know some parents were saying, well, I've had my kid virtual this whole time. Why do I want them to go onto the campus for it? Right. There is a way for pretty much every grade. If they wanted to, they could just say reject. But there's a formal process for the parent to go through so they don't have to take the STAR. And this has always been the option, not just during COVID. But unfortunately, the high school level is still tied to the STAR test. So, those juniors and seniors are still going to have to take the test if they want to get those points and requirements for graduation, unfortunately. So, if the test gets canceled, those juniors and seniors wouldn't have to worry about that right now. But I think it's more stressful and more critical at that high school level than it is for, say, third, fourth, or fifth grade.
Yeah. Um, so, are there a lot of programs in the district that are helping students be able to maybe have a trade as soon as they graduate instead of just pushing for college bound or for military? Are there more programs like that accessible?
So those programs are magnet school programs, and some of the schools do have technical trades. For example, when I was at Zachary, I had a drafting and construction class.
Oh,
Um, at Clark, we had it was like an advanced mechanics class. I don't remember the name of it, but the children would do like an entire car. And then at the magnet school level, we have a slew of wonderful magnet schools. We have agriculture, we have law, of course, health, business. Those were the first ones, communication arts. And then I don't know if you saw in the news the Construction Careers Academy, where that young lady fixed her pipes and then went through the
oh
neighborhood.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's construction careers, and we're pushing more for that. But one disconnect I've seen, and I've been arguing about it this whole time, is when we track the success of the student, and this kind of also goes into that overall grade that we get with the STAR testing. We track the success of the student, years after graduation. And the success of the student is counted on, did they attend college and did they graduate college? And not, did they, get an apprenticeship? Did they go to a trade school? Did they get a trade? Why don't we count that as well as
Right.
college? Some kids are bound for college. Great. I was a college grad. My husband wasn't. My husband at 18 became an apprentice, and he's had his own business for 25 years. And I don't think he's a failure. I think he's doing pretty good, but he never went to college. So why don't we count that as well? We also need the technical skills, and we also need the trades, and we need the apprenticeship. So I really am pushing, and I'm going to continue to push for us to track the success of the student, not just as college graduation, but also those technical skills. And thankfully, I think with the increase of the magnet schools that we're getting, that's going to become more of a priority, because we just added one for middle school, which is cyber technology as well. And cyber technology is one of those that you could attend college or you don't need to. So hopefully we have more of that push now that we're seeing more magnet schools. And I think our eyes are starting to open up and say, hey, there's a lot of other skills that we don't have here in San Antonio that industries are asking for.
Right.
And they don't need a college degree. And we need to start preparing those kids for those skills. Otherwise, they're going to have to leave, or they're never going to get a job here in town. And then the skills and the industries that are here are going to have to bring people from elsewhere, because we don't have the skill set here in San Antonio.
Exactly. And I think like the most recent one is I think it's Port San Antonio, and I think they already started construction, but with the esports arena. And esports, for anybody who doesn't know what esports is, it's basically gaming, video gaming.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids are making some money off of that. And if you look at, Twitch is the big one too, that people stream their video games and you can get paid from that. So it's just, there's a lot of different opportunities for different people. So
Yeah, my daughter saw the esports team for A&M San Antonio, and she's like, I'll try out for that sport.
right? I mean, why not? I mean, it's there. It's why not? And so, but I think it's been a stigma, right? For a lot of parents, are like, oh, you're just playing video games, but
Yeah.
it's something to think about.
And it's going back to that stigma too about trades. I mean, we have the two mentalities here in San Antonio. We have the mentality of, well, I didn't go to college. Why do you need to go to college? Just get a job right now. Yeah. And we have the other mentality of, well, if you don't go to college, are you ever going to do anything with your life? But we don't think about those technical trades that are so needed and so important too. So we need to remove the stigma of those trades, and more importantly for me, removing the stigma of women in those trades.
Right.
Having women in construction, women in engineering, pipe fitters. I mean, women can do it as well. And honestly, I've seen some very handy women. I'm not one of them. I will draw you a plan on how to install the light bulb, but I'm not going to do it myself.
Right.
But yeah, we need to reduce that stigma, and that's going to help us increase those careers here in San Antonio, and have more opportunities for our locals and for our kids to actually graduate and stay here and become something.
Right. And a question I do want to ask, and I want to ask it in a way because I know people have these questions for candidates in general, but even more so with the board of trustees or school board. What do you get out of this, right? Because it's not a paid position. What do you get out of it, and what promise can you make to the people of that you have their um you have their well, I can't think of the name. You have their best interest at heart.
Right.
And I ask this for everybody, just because I mean it's something that's a question for that a lot of people have, and they want to know.
Right. Right. So I'm not getting anything out of this. If you think about it, it's taking time away from my children. It's another full-time job on top of my full-time job. But the reason I'm running is because I know how great a district Northside ISD is. And I know what I got out of it. But I also want my children to receive the same quality education. I want my children's friends to get the same quality education. And I want the next 2, 4, 5 generations to get the same quality education across the district. So the reason I'm doing this isn't for me at all. I'm not going to get anything out of this. It's not, you said it's not a paid job. Honestly, I'm wasting money like running across the district with gas. But the thing is that this is for the children, and I can sleep better at night knowing that I did something for those kids. And one thing I am going to promise is I don't have all the answers, as obviously you have seen, because I didn't know what Hawking radiation was. But I am always going to listen. I'm going to listen to the experts. I'm going to listen to the parents. I'm going to listen to the students, because those kids know more than you think.
No, yeah.
So that's my purpose. I will listen.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead and bring your website up. I know you wanted to share your website, and especially about where District 5 is at for the.
So I have it here. I don't know if you can. I was already sharing the screen. There you go. So I'm really proud of this. It's voteirma.com. I can't believe no one had taken that name before, but I got all the tags and the name. I don't think Irma is a very common or tech name, so managed to get it. And this is one thing I'm really proud of. When you look at the district maps, and this isn't just Northside, this is any district, you have issues trying to find where the boundaries are. So I actually created this using a little bit of different files, precinct numbers, and you can find this at voteirma.com and then click on precinct finder. Our area is very diverse, but it's also the smallest one out of all of Northside ISD. So as you can tell over here, this is Lock Hill, Selma, and Wurzbach. So that cuts into the Clark area. All this is the medical center area, which is all of Marshall. And then if you scroll down a little bit, this is like 410 and Evers, and that goes into Holmes. And then over here is Patton Middle School. I honestly think this is a really cool thing about this area. When you look at the demographics of NISD, it reflects the demographics of San Antonio. We have 68% Hispanic. We have followed by Caucasian. And honestly, it's a very economically rich district. It's large. It actually goes all the way into Medina County. So if you look at that, We get a lot of medical center, and we're actually 72% economically disadvantaged in this area. Another really interesting fact is, compared to the other percentage of 68% Hispanic, we have 25% Black in this neighborhood. And it's not just African American, it's also new immigrants from Africa that are in this part of the area. We also have refugees from the Middle East and from Asia in here. So we have a lot of new immigrants, and it makes it for a very diverse area, which I love, because there's always any great places. If you want to get some good food, you come here. There's Ethiopian, there's Kenyan food, Indian food, Thai food. Like, you can find anything in this area, which I adore. And that's one of the great things, that you have these children from all over the world that are doing so well in school. But I see a lot of struggles with their parents. I had one instance where we were handing out yearbooks, and this mom came, and we couldn't even communicate with her. She was from Africa, and I don't even know what country in Africa. And we didn't have the language, honestly. I speak English and Spanish. I can fake German a little bit. But, this mother saw that we were giving books, and she saw the word book, and she's like, yes, I want books for my children. And, I try to explain to her, like, no, these are yearbooks. These are already paid for, but hey, grab one, like, go for it. Why not? We have extra, but just seeing that poor woman saying, books, I want books for my kids, but no one being able to communicate with them. And that's really heartbreaking to know that there's so many parents that really want to do good and they can't.
Yeah.
Because of that language barrier.
Right. And you were speaking of food. So what are your top 3 small business restaurants in that area that maybe?
Oh my God. Okay.
If you can.
You're gonna call me on this, because I have like a list of 20. Okay, down here on Callahan and Babcock, I'm gonna butcher this name. It's Eritrean Ethiopian. And I'm waiting for COVID to end, like right down here. I'm waiting for COVID to end and go to all you can eat buffet. It's like over here. It's like right over here. There it is. Rehoboth Eritrean Ethiopian. I'm terrible at names. There's a food truck over here on Babcock and Hebner called Abu Omar. And again, I gave up meat for Lent, so I'm just dying for like Lent and COVID to go. I can do all you can eat, and I can, eat an entire goat. So they have really good meat. What is another one in this area? Because there's so many good ones. Well, Cafe Martinez and Deco District are here too. I love them. For pizza and coffee. Oh man, yeah, it's I'm always eating out all the time. The more exotic, I just found there's a Kenyan restaurant off of, I think, Evers. So I'm waiting to check them out. We our Girl Scout troop has a sister partnership with the group in Kenya, and we've been playing with each other down the street. So leader. You keep sending me pictures of food over there in your country, so now I'm finally going to get to try it. They love the diversity in this neighborhood. There's a lot of coffee houses, or there's a tiny little mom and pop shops, and honestly, like, you have to walk. There's everywhere.
You have what? You have what?
You have to walk it pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like and that's the cool thing. We have a lot of apartments in the area, so you do see a lot of people walking around, going to in the area.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, any other, like, okay, so how can people get a hold of you, help you with campaigning or volunteer, donate?
So again, here you go. Going back to my website here, voteirma.com. I have my priorities here. We have donation tabs there. We have a contact us. Honestly, contact is the email. That tends to be the easiest thing. You also have Facebook, Instagram, Messenger. I check everything all the time. So any of that, I don't know. Should I give out my cell phone number as well?
That's up to you. Some
What do you
people
think?
have, but that's totally up to you. I mean, you can just, yeah, you can just leave it at the messenger. It's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah. So Messenger, Instagram, Twitter, emails. If I don't get back to you, me or my children, like right now, they're making distract me. So it's probably because I'm with my kids. But I do promise that I get back to you as soon as I can. I'm not ignoring you.
Yeah, definitely. So, are you taking like volunteers and stuff like that as well
I
to
know.
block walking and all that?
Yeah, so right now we're going to have some block walking going on in March, March 27th, and then April 10th. So I'm taking block walking volunteer. A lot of friends postcards in the mailings, but I can't seem to get anyone to do phone bank. They're very shy about that. So we're going to be doing phone bank. We're going to be doing block walking, and then as we get closer to the day, we're also going to be doing mailers. We're also going to be doing the door hangers, and then on during the day on with me to the polls too to remind people, because I think a lot of folks focus on city council and they forget that school board is on there, especially since this is
Right.
going to be the first time in a very long time that that we're on that ballot.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that's the whole purpose of this is to really bring out that engagement to remind people constantly that there are city elections, because a lot of people always forget that in general, and even more so with the board of trustees and the school boards, we're not paying enough attention to these positions and these vacancies. So definitely make sure you're doing your research. Reach out to all of the candidates, and especially Irma as well. Right now, she gave you all the info,
Yeah.
to see how you can help, or maybe if you have some more questions that maybe that we didn't get to talk about. So any last things that you want to say before we cap off?
Yeah, I think some of the last things I want to say is that you have to remember that this board of trustees position is important because it deals directly with your children or your grandchildren or your property taxes. So whatever comes as importance to you, it's going to affect you directly, even if you think, well, I don't have kids in the district. And when you think about who has to be on the board of trustees, they have to put the children first. Thankfully, I have the experience that I come from both being a student of Northside, so I know what it's been like. And it wasn't that too long ago. But I'm also a parent. I'm also engaged in the community, so I've already had that experience working with the board of trustees. When elected, I mean, it's going to come pretty easy because I've already worked with the entire board in the past. And they see me often at the board meetings or at the commission meetings because of that. And thankfully, I have that experience. And then my background in my career for policy and implementation and business management, that has also helped me as well to be really prepared for the board. So one of the important things is when we get elected May 1st, we pretty much get sworn in a few weeks later, and then we start working on the budget and the upcoming bonds. So whoever you pick is going to have to be very savvy and be very flexible and ready to work and have that energy. And I do feel that I'm the right candidate for that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Irma. I appreciate it. And real quick before we go, I
Sure.
do, and I've been trying to make sure I plug this in every time. Um, Anybody that has been affected with the I know it's already been a month, but either way, there's still people that are still feeling the after effects of the freeze and everything. And if
Mhm.
you've had issues with your renter's insurance, your home insurance, things like that, um, please reach out to the tdi.texas.gov. That is Texas Department of Insurance. um, they are a government entity, so it's not a company or anything. It's a government entity, but they help you in speaking with the insurance companies and the lingo and jargon that insurance companies have. They will give you little bit more of a research and opportunity to maybe go about your situation in a different way,
Mhm.
if maybe you're getting a lot of roadblocks, they could possibly help you as far as navigating that journey. So please reach out to them if you're still having issues with your insurance or renter's insurance, and just in general, the medical insurance, auto insurance, anything that has insurance with it. They can help you and kind of guide you in the process if you feel like you're not getting the help you need. So just wanted to plug that in there. So
Could I do a quick plug,
yeah,
something
yeah.
related as well? I don't think a lot of people know this, but the Texas PTA actually has emergency funds for people that were affected. So if you want to reach out to your school principal or your local PTA because you had either damage at home or you need some sort of funding, they're taking applications.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and if you want to donate to that fund, you can also donate to it. They take gift cards, they take applications. So that's for any teachers or parents or students that were affected by it. I know we've been taking applications for people that had flooding, that had they lost all their food because of it. So that's another resource that I don't think people realize is available to them, and it's a pretty easy, quick application. And if you have any receipts, show us your receipts and get reimbursed for that.
Yeah, definitely. And where do they go for that?
They can go to their school. So
Okay.
pretty much every school has a PTA.
Mhm.
So, and the principal is always part of the PTA and usually part of the PTA board. So just talk to the principal or talk to the teacher and say, hey, I heard that the Texas PTA has emergency funds. How do I apply? If the school doesn't really know or isn't familiar, tell them, well, Irma said, have them call Irma. And I'll help them too figure it out too, because I've done it already. So
Yeah. And is
yeah.
that for like all the school districts or just specifically for NISD?
No, all the school districts. So this
Okay.
is the Texas PTA. So
Okay.
if they're a PTA here in Texas, they report to the Texas PTA and they have that emergency funding available to them.
Awesome. Well, that's extremely good to know too. So awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you everybody for joining, and especially across the UK. Apparently, thank you for joining and having this conversation, and all the viewers. If you would also like to donate to this live stream as well to keep it going, please do so if you'd like. My cash app's on the bottom, so if you like what you're seeing and all the interviews that I'm doing, please feel free to donate as well. But thank you, Irma. I appreciate you coming on, and everybody have an awesome day
Yeah, or night.
or night. Yeah,
UK's
or
already
night. Yeah, right.
already 7 hours ahead.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You take care.
You too.